amidst the era when the gods betrayed the world and allowed the demon lord to destroy all that remained. The entire earth quaked as humanity's last hero was born. But after the mayhem had claimed countless lives, the General of Fire found the baby starving underneath a tree, so he decided to take him as his own child, and gave him the name Dariel, believing he was an angel. His real son had waited years for his father's return, but when Bash saw a new child by his side, he realized that all this time, it was Dariel stealing his childhood away. So when he became one of the 4 demon generals, he exiled Dariel for being the only demon unable to use magic, and threatened to incinerate him if he didn't leave. Having loyally served the demons his entire life, he no longer had a home, and starved in the wilderness for weeks. But when he heard the voice of a hot girl screaming before landing by his side, a massive beast leapt to crush her down and was ready to eat her out. But Dariel managed to block its attack. However, he realized that he would die without magic, but as he rushed forward, his legs gave out from the hunger, and the beast crushed his core as he launched him off. The only thing by his side was a dagger, so he picked it up, having no idea how to wield a human weapon. But as the beast rushed towards him, his innate powers awakened, allowing him to strike his blade deep into the beast's heart, killing it in that instant. Although he had only copied the hero's move, the hot girl thanked him for saving her life, but he knew that getting involved with a human was dangerous for a demon. However, she held the worthless dickhead back, begging him to come to her village so she could thank him with a tasty meal, causing him to give in while she dragged his worthless ass. Inside the Lux village, the ugly, disgusting, worthless loser met both of her parents, and Malika went on to introduce herself, asking him why he was in the middle of the forest. Realizing he was a demon in enemy territory, he told her that his own brother kicked him out, and that he's been homeless for weeks. Hearing those sad words, Malika begged him to live inside of her home, and her mother agreed since he would be able to save them from the monsters, so Anvil welcomed him as the village's mayor. Hearing those words, Dariel hesitated as he would be in danger, but his eyes landed on something that was worth risking his life for, and realized that he needed to protect them with his powers. That night was the first time he slept in a bed of his own, but Malika knocked on the door, telling him that she was the one people usually relied on, so she's never had someone save her before, but it made her very happy. By the time the morning arrived, Anvil revealed that he was also the guild master of the village, and asked him to become an adventurer. However, Dariel wondered if there was any other jobs, since only humans were able to register in guilds, so he pretended as if his back was broken to prevent them from discovering he was a demon. But as he tried to weasel away, Malika pricked his finger and forced his hand onto the contract, releasing an overflux of mana that began to wrap around him, until the sigil was formed on his hand. Throughout his life, he never doubted being a demon since he grew up among them, but realized that he was actually a human all along. Inside the field, Anvil began the aura evaluation exam, revealing there were 4 different auras for infusing the various weapons. The first one was Slash, so as Dariel rushed forward, he cut the entire log with a single strike, and Malika wanted to know what else his sword can do. Next was the hit status, so as Dariel readied his hammer, a hole was carved in the mountain, but Malika wished he would hammer her hole instead. The sting status reflected his capabilities with the bow, so as he aimed and fired, all the trees in the distance were crushed. But when Anvil wondered if his eyes were deceiving him, Malika hugged Dariel into her massive meat shields, causing Anvil to cry on the ground, so he told Dariel to pick up a real shield. The final skill was Protect, so as Anvil was about to end the worthless bastard with an iron hammer, he unleashed all of his strength. But Dariel managed to block his attack with his massive wood, causing Anvil to fall on his worthless head. Once he regained consciousness, he revealed that Dariel possessed 4 perfect auras, when everyone in this world was only able to master 1 aura during their entire life. However, Anvil thought that his broken powers would allow him to join the Center Guild, a place that all the adventurers only dreamed of joining. But when he saw Malika cry, he told Anvil that he wouldn't be leaving, because they gave him a place to stay when he needed it most, and asked him if he could ever repay their kindness. As she stared back at her dad, Malika ran towards Dariel, and he realized that inside of these milkers was where his second life was going to begin. The following day, Anvil introduced Dariel to the rest of the villagers, but a useless moron thought that an old geezer wasn't fit to be an adventurer, and asked to see his rank. So when Dariel showed him that he was an E rank, Gassida laughed in his worthless face as he showed off his D rank status, telling him to respect his superiors. Once he was gone, Anvil began assigning Dariel his first quest of gathering herbs, but told him to be careful of the giant monkey roaming the forests. However, when Malika revealed that Dariel had already defeated it, Anvil realized that he has not only lost his dignity, but was also about to lose his daughter. So because he defeated an S-rank beast, Anvil promoted his adventurer status, raising him to D rank. Just then, the Double Ds appeared before his eyes, saying that she would be showing him their forest. But the only thing he wanted to see were her mountain peaks. A few minutes later, as they began climbing up the cliff, she revealed that she's always wanted to be an adventurer, and wanted to repay Dariel for saving her. After he got to see the whitest sky reaching the top, she asked to hold his hand so they wouldn't get lost, and began dragging him until they arrived at the medicinal park. Seeing all the different flowers, Dariel realized that Malika was used to being an adventurer, but she came and wondered why his plant was so small and soft. After teaching him that the right ones looked hard and longer, she picked up an entire tree to show him where they were. But once she dropped it, she noticed deer tracks. However, Dariel had no idea where the fuck she was seeing any prints, so as she walked away, he wondered if she would have been able to kill the bear on her own, but she revealed that she was too scared to fight. She thought Dariel was her savior, and asked him if he could call her by her first name, begging him to stop calling her Miss Malika. So as he went on to say her name, she hugged him with enough power to crush every bone in his body until he pointed at a deer. Although he was just lying, he was shocked that there was actually one there, but as he felt bad for killing it, the deer began to ooze with demonic aura before leaping away, and he wondered why the fuck the deer was stronger than the monster. However, Malika thought they looked delicious and wanted to kill both of them, and Dariel realized that his life wasn't the only thing going to be hard. By the time they returned to the village, Malika told the villagers that Dariel had captured them, and they thought he was incredible. However, Gassida grew angry because they were better than him. But as he ran off, Dariel discovered that he had already chosen the quest to kill the ant. And so the days passed in the village, as Dariel began getting used to his new life with Malika. But on one of those days, he came across Gassida at the guild. After the worthless loser went away, Malika welcomed him inside.
You're a victim.
As Anvil revealed that Gassida was only angry because Dariel kept accidentally finishing his quests, Malika told him that he was just being the bravest man alive, but so is the cameraman. However, Anvil showed him the quest to kill a C-rank serpent, revealing that Gassida went after the beast, even though it might end his worthless life, so Dariel promised that he would rescue him. But before he would leave, Malika gave him the medicines she made with her herbs, and Dariel began heading off. As he entered into the forest, he noticed he was feeling uneasy, and as he came across felled trees, he realized that a large monster must have passed through the forest. At that moment, Gassida began running towards him, and a giant serpent emerged from the trees, so as Dariel drew his sword, he infused his aura into it. However, as the serpent began pursuing Gassida to devour his body, the loser managed to launch arrows at it. But as they got parried away, the snake lunged towards him. Just then, Dariel flew towards it, and as Gassida noticed his shining aura, Dariel slashed it with his sword. However, as the monster was still alive, it swung its tail towards him, but he managed to stop it with an invisible shield. And at that instant, his sword shattered before his eyes, but as he remembered the styles for each weapon, he realized he could combine the hit and sting techniques. So using a fragment of the sword, he decided to shoot it like an arrow, and threw the fragment into the serpent's belly. Before his eyes, it began to expand, and as light blasted through, it blew open in an instant. So with the serpent dead, Dariel began to treat Gassida's wound, and gave him an anti-venom for his injury. Feeling the pain, Gassida wondered how he learned to treat his wounds. So Dariel revealed that Malika taught him as he gathered medicinal herbs with her. As Gassida realized that the person he's hated, and the one he's been treating badly, was also the same person saving him now, he began crying. The next day in the village, while they were having breakfast, Gassida entered the room, calling Dariel his big bro. But Dariel wished he would have just let him die the night before. He began saying that he would become his new protege, and train under him wherever he goes. But hearing the word training reminded Dariel of the Demon Empire, as he wondered if the 4 demonic generals were still at war with the hero. However, Zebiontes had just returned from the war with the hero, but after losing the battle, she blamed their useless assistant for failing to scout the hero's camp. So after Bash decided to fire the useless loser, they realized they were on their 5th one getting fired, making them wonder if they would ever find a competent assistant. Right then, Doroe began suggesting they bring back Dariel, saying that he was the perfect man who was skilled in war tactics, and would even help her when no one was around. However, hearing Dariel's name caused a flame to erupt from Bash's body, screaming that Dariel's name was forbidden forever. As the breeze of the fall arrived, Gassida continued following Dariel while calling him his big bro. But Dariel really wished this side character would have been killed off by now. However, he had something harder to handle, because whenever he returned at sunset, Malika would fly into his arms, even though she was making his life harder and destroying his bones in more ways than one. He began to notice something was off, as if there was a mystery the village was hiding. So when he recovered that night, he noticed that Malika was sulking as she apologized for almost killing him, but he knew that she was just excited to see him, and forgave her. However, he went on to ask Anvil why the village was dying, since he noticed that almost all of the houses were deserted. Deciding to reveal the truth, Anvil showed him a map of the entire region, and pointed at the Mithril mines. It was a special cave where the most expensive metal was extracted. But after the demons took over the mine, the villagers began to flee away, and Anvil thought it was only a matter of time before their village completely died off. That night in his room, Dariel realized that he could not allow the village to keep dying, and decided to visit the Mithril mine. So when it was morning, he slid down the cliff, and arriving at the mine, he wondered if he could steal some of the Mithril. Right then, he noticed a wooden crate, and decided to sneak inside while using it as a cover. However, as he discovered the entire place was deserted, he began wondering if all the security had abandoned their job. But as he entered the cave, he began to hear shoveling noises, and as he noticed his minions were still working the mines, they began screaming because they've missed him all this time. As the knockers formed a queue for him to pat their heads, they told him that they were being tasked to supply 4 times their old delivery, and that they weren't even getting any breaks. On top of that, all the soldiers had been withdrawn because the Demon King was now broke, and couldn't even afford to feed his army. While Dariel was wondering how he could help them, he noticed that soldiers were arriving, and magical energy lit up the lamps at that instant. As a man appeared, one of the soldiers revealed a crate of mithril, but he began saying it wasn't enough, and screamed at the knockers that he needed 3 times more of it. However, they were already exhausted after months of being overworked, and with their starvation setting in, they begged him to wait longer. But he struck the ground, reminding them that they were nothing more than demi-humans, and said they only deserved to work as slaves. But just as he was about to leave, one of the knockers flew toward him and smacked his empty head, saying they were done working for the Demon King. Desperate to gain back control over them, the loser commanded the soldiers to slay the knockers immediately. So as they rushed at them, one of the soldiers began to cast a magical spell, but a shovel destroyed the energy blast. As smoke rose inside the cave, Dariel managed to pull the knockers aside, and as he directed his sword towards the men, he told them to withdraw immediately, saying that their demon code prohibited them from killing innocent civilians. Wondering who he was, Lehman demanded to know his name, but Dariel told him that he's a human adventurer, and vowed to slay him if he wouldn't withdraw. As Dariel summoned a shield, Lehman began saying that all the knockers deserved to be killed for rebelling, and said they must have been plotting to overthrow him for a long time. So with the soldiers ready to attack, Dariel decided to raise his sheathed sword, determined to stop them without killing anyone. But they thought he was casting a spell. As one soldier decided to cast his own, Dariel rushed at them, realizing he could easily break his focus to end his chant, before smacking his helmet off. At the same time, a knocker tried to attack another soldier, but as Dariel realized he was nearly finished with his chant, he thought the knocker would be burned for sure, but the soldier kicked it away instead. At the sight of this, Dariel realized the soldier intentionally spared its life, and realized he could persuade them, so he stabbed his sword into the ground, and began reminding them about their vow to spare innocent lives. However, Lehman nearly blasted him, saying he was only playing mind tricks, and commanded the men to start their chants once again. So at the same time, they directed their hands at Dariel and began to chant their spells. But because he memorized the chant for every affinity and could estimate the time each spell would unleash, he began to attack them accordingly, stopping each chant right before the spell was launched. At Lehman's command, they tried to switch to enhancement magic, but as one of the men summoned a rock hand, Dariel flew with his sword, slicing the rock into pieces. Wondering how he managed to do so, Lehman unleashed a blast towards him, but Dariel slashed it away, and charged at him as he nearly sliced his head off. With his life flashing before his eyes, Lehman began to beg for his life, saying he wouldn't fight back, and that he was chosen for this position after entertaining Bash at the royal party. Hearing these words, Dariel began wondering how this loser was a better replacement than him. He told him that he's a disgrace, and as he decided to raise his sword, he shaved off his hair with a slash, telling him to offer his resignation once he returns to the Demon Empire. So as Lehman was glad to have been spared, he took off immediately. And after all the soldiers had left, the Knockers decided to make Dariel their new master, promising to deliver all the mithril to him. After returning to the village, Dariel told Anvil that he's managed to recover the mithril mine, and asked that they protect the Knockers from the demons. So as Anvil agreed, he told him that he would inform the Center Guild. The days began passing, and with the people beginning to return, the mithril started being mined for the villagers once again, so Anvil thanked Dariel for saving their village. At that moment, Malika began approaching them, saying she's brought Dariel his lunch. Meanwhile, at the Demon Empire, Zevi visited Bash in his private room and noticed a giant mithril ball inside. When she wondered what it was, Bash told her he was creating a compressed magic weapon that would store magical energy. To show her the extent of its power, he summoned a magical circle underneath him and unleashed a mighty inferno out of the ground, calling it a Giga Flare. With this power, he thought he would be the greatest of the 4 generals and could even become the next Demon King. Realizing he would need a tremendous amount of mithril, Zevi began wondering how he would keep up with his experiments. So Bash revealed that he has commanded the Knockers to work every single hour of the day, and to excavate all of the mithril in the cave. However, Zevi broke the news to the worthless moron that the mithril mine was stolen back from them, and her massive cannons told him that the Demon King was also summoning him. Inside the throne room, a little girl asked Bash why their mithril supplies had disappeared, and nearly triggered an earthquake with her blazing eye. She called him a moron and forced him to apologize, even as he hesitated. But after he said that he was sorry, the Demon King told him that he should use Dariel's help more. After all, he was gifted, smart, and kind, so the Demon King told Bash to go ask him for advice. But after Bash left, the Demon King wondered what he would do now, knowing that Dariel had already been fired. However, as Bash began heading to his private area, his anger began to grow after hearing Dariel's name from the Demon Lord, causing him to blast a hole through the castle. Back at the village, Malika was happy to see Luck's village being lively for the first time in years, and thought that they should have their children among them as soon as possible. But Dariel wondered if he really heard those words.
私は子供ができても旦那様のこともちゃんと大事にしますから。
なぜ俺に言う？それは素敵なことですね。復権派の仲間にダイナにクルーガーに
私と
喧嘩だ
Gassida was about to fight with another group of adventurers, so as Dariel left, he felt as if she was about to say something terrifying, but decided to pretend as if he was imagining it. As he managed to stop him, the leader of the adventurers began saying that they came from a faraway town, introducing himself as Phytabon, and revealed his B-rank crest. When Dariel revealed his D rank, Phytabon began saying they were worthless weak losers, wondering how pathetic morons managed to take control of the mithril mine. As he began to leave, he said the mine was now theirs, and told Dariel to keep his green-haired dog on a leash next time. Deciding to clap back at his ugly face, Dariel revealed that the serpent they failed to prevent from escaping in their village was spotted by this disgusting green-haired dog, so he didn't need a leash. But as he tried to leave, Gassida decided to reveal that Dariel was also the one who killed the giant serpent. But Dariel realized that Gassida went too far. As the men were shocked at this discovery, the villagers decided to toss Dariel into the air, thinking he deserved to be an A-rank adventurer. That night, while having dinner, Gassida decided to tell Malika everything that happened, and she drew her blade immediately to avenge her man. But Dariel managed to restrain her, afraid she would go on a killing spree. The next day, as a man arrived from the Center Guild, he said his name was Best Fred, and asked Dariel to be a mediator in his meeting with the Knockers, saying they would not speak to him without him being present. In hopes of discovering his intentions, Dariel decided to ask what his decision would be if the meeting goes south. but Best Fred told him that they would only retreat. Within a few hours, they arrived inside the cave, and Dariel asked the Knockers to make a deal with Best Fred, so as they were happy to see him again, they agreed immediately, but the man was shocked. By the time Dariel left the cave, he noticed that the useless adventurers had arrived, and Phytabon told him that they were Best Fred's bodyguards. But at that moment, they noticed a magical crest hovering around the forest, and as Dariel began hearing a familiar voice, he decided to follow it, using his aura to enhance his body's movement speed. He had grown much faster over the last few months, but as he spotted the soldiers, a demon cast a water barrier, telling Dariel that they had no intention of starting a fight, before commanding the soldiers to retreat. As Dariel decided to reveal himself, Rosette hugged him immediately, because he's been worried about him ever since he left the Demon Lord's castle. But Dariel knew this was what a hug was actually supposed to be. Before long, they stood on the side of the lake, and as Rosette began wondering where he's been, Dariel told him that he discovered he was human, and revealed his adventurer's crest. But when he wondered why they came, Rosette told him that the Demon Empire has been in total chaos ever since he was banished, and said that the chain of command was on the verge of collapse. On top of that, Bash was taking his anger out on everyone, and had fired over 100 new assistants. His incompetence had caused them to lose the Mithril Mine, and he revealed that he came to reconcile with the Knockers. As he asked Dariel to return with him to the Demon Empire, Dariel told him that he wouldn't, since he now had people he cared about, and people who cared about him. Deciding to take him anyway, Rosette trapped him inside a water prison, but Dariel destroyed it with his sword, saying he had a better plan, selling them some of the mithril. So that evening, after Dariel told Best Fred his plan, he said it was the only way to protect their village from a war with the demons, as he thought it was only a matter of time before they forcefully try to take over the mine. With the Demon Empire needing the mithril for their survival, Dariel thought a battle between both sides would be inevitable. However, since they had a monopoly over all the mithril in this world, he suggested that they sell it for 4 times the regular price. But although Rosette agreed anyway since the demons were desperate for mithril, Phytabon began saying it was a trap. He thought they should never share their mithril with the killers of humanity and drew his blade to end Rosette's life. But Dariel managed to block his attack, telling him that this was their best hope for surviving. As Phytabon decided to withdraw, he began saying the agreement was useless, but Best Fred told him to close his disgusting mouth, reminding him that he was only a bodyguard. As he let out those words, he decided to accept the agreement. A few days later, while Dariel was looking for a blacksmith to process the mithril, he spotted Phytabon at the village's old workshop, but the ugly loser told him that his squad took over the place already. He told him to head back home, saying that a D rank shouldn't be interfering with a B rank. After Dariel returned, Amble revealed that Phytabon was fired from being a bodyguard, and because they lost the mithril mine, he thought their frustration was the reason he stole the forge. As Dariel began thinking he was responsible for it, Malika jumped into his arms at that moment, telling him that an old man touched her massive milkers. He wished for the man to die, but when he saw that he was already dead, he realized that it was just tomatoes splattered on the floor. As the man woke up, he told her that her chest was saggier than his 70-year-old wife, and wondered who the pathetic loser with the small sword was. But as Malika tried to end his life, Dariel managed to restrain her. She told him that Dariel was the strongest adventurer she's ever met, and that he even took down a C-rank serpent alone. However, the smith wondered how he did it with his dull sword, so he asked Dariel to hold out his hand. But when he grabbed it, a powerful sphere of light radiated from his body, as the man realized that he possessed a maximum level in all 4 auras. He wondered how a person like him ever existed, and told him to behold, saying that he was the greatest mithril blacksmith alive, and that his name was Smith Black. But at their home, Malika thought that the bald head's name was fake, but Smith showed them his birth certificate, saying that he earned the last name Black because of his massive hammer. As he began wondering where the forge was, Dariel told him that the village's only workshop has been taken over by another group of adventurers. However, Smith knew that they could take it back with his incredible negotiating skills. Inside the workshop, the adventurers realized they couldn't make any weapons as their melted mithril was turning into ash. However, as Smith decided to process his own mithril, He burned it in the fire until it turned dark, and as he smashed it with his hammer, it turned to liquid with a shiny light bursting out of it. When he was done, he made a new blade for Dariel, telling him to infuse his aura through it. So as Dariel did, he realized that the weapon was enhanced and easily sliced the tree before him. But at that moment, Phytabon arrived and begged the smith to teach his men how to be better blacksmiths. However, Smith told him to kiss his ass, but as he began to leave, Phytabon grew angry and began threatening to eliminate Dariel. That evening in the village, Dariel began wondering how he could make a workshop for Smith, realizing that Phytabon would never allow him back. But Smith revealed that he has created his own forge already. While inside, Smith told him that his apprentice had carted it from the city, but Dariel wondered how he would light his ethanol furnace, seeing as it could only be lit up by magic. However, the worthless geezer began crying as he realized he got scammed of all his money. So the following day, Dariel decided to ask for Rosette's help. But when Gassida saw him holding another man's hand, he began thinking that Dariel wanted to replace him. He thought he was useless, but Malika told him to jump off a cliff already. As Rosette told him that he can't support their desire to create weapons, Smith began saying that he only intends to make a single weapon for Dariel. After all, he thought it was the only way to thank him for taking back the mithril mine and giving back his hobby of pounding mithril with his hammer until the liquid exploded. So he vowed to create the greatest weapon for Dariel with his special aura, because that was his dream. Later that day, as Phytabon appeared before Dariel, he asked to speak with him in the forest, but after arriving, he told him that they were being tricked by the Center Guild, and that their profits from the mine was being extorted. For this reason, he suggested they join forces to defend the village, and said they could share all the profits between themselves. However, even if he was telling the truth, Dariel rejected to work with him, since he's hurt the people he loved. Looking to punish him for turning down his offer, Phytabon threw his glove at Dariel, commanding him to pick it up. And as the moron picked it up, Phytabon told him that he would be waiting at dawn. But as he began to leave, Dariel realized he just accepted a duel. When he returned home that day, Anvil began saying that he couldn't possibly defeat a B-rank adventurer, but said that Phytabon would be in control of the mine if Dariel decides to forfeit the duel. So to protect him, he offered to cancel the duel, but Dariel knew that he would just keep coming back otherwise. So Smith offered to teach him how to use a mithril weapon. That night, while Dariel was throwing knives at a tree, Malika appeared before him, asking him to drink some of her warm, creamy milk. So as Dariel began to swallow all of Malika's creamy white milk, she wondered if he really wanted to still fight tomorrow. So Dariel told her that he would, because he had people who were worried about him that he needed to defend. Hearing those words, she began saying he would win, and that she would make his favorite stew for tomorrow, so he needed to stay safe until then. But he realized that she was worried about him the most. The following day, as Dariel and Phytabon faced off, Phytabon was glad to see that he didn't run away, and revealed his mithril weapons. However, Dariel decided to unsheath his dagger, but Phytabon began laughing at how sad and small his weapon was. As the match was about to begin, Dariel realized that the knockers would be screwed if he loses, so he readied his knife for the fight. But thinking it would be too easy, Phytabon suggested he gets a bigger weapon, but Dariel destroyed his brace in an instant. As Dariel tried telling him to surrender, saying he would crush his face next time, Phytabon grew angry and rushed at Dariel, but as he managed to back away, he stabbed the ground before him and nearly pierced him with his extending blade. But as Phytabon eventually closed the distance, nearly slicing his face, he realized that Dariel's blade was actually solid. As Dariel repelled him, he sliced his shield in half, and everyone realized that his weapon was stronger. On top of that, the shape could easily be changed by infusing aura through it, and with Dariel already possessing immense aura, his skill with the blade was limitless. In an instant, he slashed Phytabon's knife to pieces, but when Anvil tried saying he must surrender if he has no weapon, he caught a long sword from his men and threatened to send Dariel to an isekai. As he called him a thief, he vowed to kill him for making his life useless, but as Dariel extended his blade into a whip, he told him that he was going to punish him for hurting his friends. With Phytabon looking to eliminate him, he leaped high into the air, but Dariel slashed his long sword, shattering it to pieces. The backlash of the wind nearly blew everyone away from his whip, throwing Phytabon onto a roof. At that moment, the villagers began to celebrate Dariel's win, but as he nearly passed out from exhaustion, Malika supported him just in time, and he thought her touch was softer than a pillow. That evening, Best Fred began to beg for forgiveness, but promised to report Phytabon and his squad at the town's guild. However, as Dariel began thinking the situation would only grow worse, He suggested they repair the roof he damaged instead. Realizing Dariel was very kind, Best Fred invited him to join the Center Guild, but Malika grew sad hearing those words. That night, while in the sauna, Dariel remembered Best Fred inviting him to join the Center Guild, making him wonder if he could find his parents there. But while his eyes were closed, Malika entered the sauna and sat down right next to him.
おい、ガシタ。部屋が広いんだから、横に来なくてもいいよ。あれ？なんで？
Sensational.
As he realized he would need to use the classic shampoo excuse soon, he thought that his life was over, but his hand wouldn't even move, even when it knew that only certain death awaited him. As she said his name, the Virgin achieved the greatest climax in his life, but she revealed that she wanted to spend her remaining moments by his side, because she thought he was the greatest person she'd ever met. It was because of him that the village was saved from dying, and even her father began smiling again for the first time in his life. But through all that time, she began sharing those feelings towards him, and said that she would cheer him on, no matter where he went, forever. At that moment, Dariel realized that Malika was always putting on a smile to hide her own feelings, so he told her he wasn't leaving, and said he would decline the offer in the morning. When Malika wondered why, he told her that she was the one who gave him a home when he had nowhere to go, and that Lux Village had taken him in, so he wouldn't abandon it either. As his words made her cry, she told him that she's glad that he wouldn't be leaving.
Narika. そうして俺はまた一つラクス村に居続ける理由を得たんだ。
Meanwhile, at the Demon Empire, Bash decided to visit his father, and as he spotted his massive fireball, Grandbaza told him that he was rehabilitating from his injuries in the war, but decided to invite him for dinner. While inside, he began wondering if Bash was leading the Demon King's army into victory, and asked if he was listening to Dariel's counsel. He was the only reason Bash was able to succeed his father, since the elites wouldn't accept his retirement otherwise, and reminded him that Dariel was the greatest stroke of fortune he's ever had. He went on to ask Bash how Dariel was, so Bash began saying he didn't banish him from the Empire or anything like that. With the moron nearly crippled, Grandbaza revealed that all the aristocrats have asked him to intervene after Dariel was fired, telling Bash to bring him back immediately. Unwilling to do so, Bash began oozing with flames as his anger grew out of control, and he said he would rather quit his position, before walking off from the castle. The following morning, Erica realized that Malika was sleeping in, but when she saw that her room was empty, she realized that she finally made her move. As Malika and Dariel began climbing down the stairs, Dariel slipped from exhaustion, because every inch of his soul was sucked out last night. So while having breakfast, Anvil thought it was suspicious that he was extremely tired. But as the two of them nearly had a heart attack, Anvil told him not to spend too much time in the sauna. However, Erica told her daughter that she was happy for her. Throughout the day, Dariel wondered how he should face her father, but as Anvil called out his name, he realized that he was only asking him about his quests. However, when Erica said his name, he ran to help her, but as they kept walking, she whispered that she hopes he continues getting along with Malika. She knew exactly what happened, but as he wondered what he was supposed to say, he realized that the thing he needed to do was to propose to their daughter. Inside of his office, he revealed that him and Erica were starting to get old, and Dariel realized that he needed to confess before Anvil revealed the truth. Although Dariel thought he didn't deserve to become a mayor, Anvil reminded him that he was the one who restored the village with the Mithril mine, and recovered their recognition in the world. He said this village has become his home, and as Dariel heard these words, he noticed Malika, so he decided to accept, but had a single request. After bowing to Anvil, he asked for his permission to marry his daughter, promising to devote his life to making her happy, so Anvil accepted.
居場所を作ってくれた。マリーカ、俺と結婚してくれる
？As she blew his back out, she exploded outside of the door as she dragged him across the field. But this time, Dariel managed to regain his balance, and with the sting technique, he launched himself towards the sky.
これから二人で幸せになろうな。
でも2人じゃありませんよ。3人です。
By the time the following year arrived, Luck's village had continued growing, and he thanked Master Smith for teaching him how to get along with others, because not only was there people that needed him, but he also had a son to take care of. He had named him Gran, after the man he loved as his father. But one day, as Gasida burst inside the house, he told them that the hero was coming to the village. And Dariel realized he once spotted him when he was an aide for the 4 generals. He remembered him being an old man who had slain every demon with cold rage, but he never realized that the hero's son was one of the people in the room. As the party arrived, Dariel saw that the hero was actually a girl, and she introduced herself as Irisfiel, while her backup introduced themselves as Sasha and Satomi. As Dariel told them that he's the mayor, Irisfiel began wondering how such an ugly loser became mayor. But as she noticed he was expecting a man instead, she told him that the former hero retired after getting injured by the demons. So as Dariel was glad he wouldn't be identified, he decided to pull down his scarf, but Irisfiel begged him to put it back on, because his face was disgusting to look at.
Damn!
As they began walking through the village, Irisfiel told him that she wishes to order mithril weapons, saying it was their best hope for slaying the Demon King. However, when she began saying that the village was wonderful and that all the people were kind and warm, Dariel realized that she was having a harder time reading the words on her hand than Joe Biden reading the teleprompter. At his home, as Malika decided to welcome them inside, Irisfiel spotted Gran and thought he was cute, so she told Dariel she could carry him if he was tired, and begged him to let her hold him, making him glad that the hero was holding his own son. However, the legendary plotmaster was hungry for some milk, but as he began playing around because he was hungry, Dariel realized that he really was his son after all. When the next morning arrived, Dariel went to check on Irisfiel, but she was still as unconscious as Joe Biden, so when they reminded her that she was the hero, she went inside her room and changed instantly. While they ate together, Irisfiel revealed that one of her goals was to acquire mithril weapons in this village, so Anvil realized that this would be the first time a hero wielded mithril weapons, and hoped that Dariel would take care of them. Once they arrived at the forge, Dariel revealed the way they crafted their mithril weapons, showing them that mithril turned into a liquid when it was hammered. However, he revealed this was how mithril gained the ability to absorb aura, and as Satomi tried infusing her aura into the weapon, the warm flow of energy began penetrating deep into her body. So when Irisfiel told him that she wanted one of those weapons, Dariel summoned Sakai to create a weapon for the hero. But the misogynist forgot that the heroes were now all women since Disney started creating garbage woke movies. So after feeling her hands to study her type, he determined that she was a slash, but she was shocked that he got it right. Just then, Irisfiel began telling Dariel that the second reason they came to the village was to recruit a 4th member to join their party. But as Gasida heard those words, he decided that this was the perfect moment for a tournament arc, and Irisfiel wondered why this ghetto hood village was filled with crackheads. As the tournament was about to begin, the 26 contestants realized that they would be facing the hero's party, who were only armed with wooden sticks and a pot lid. As they thought it would be the easiest battle they ever fought, they decided to attack at the same time. But by the time the smoke cleared, all the men had been knocked down on their asses, and Sasha thought they were pathetic. This had been the outcome from every other village they went to, and Irisfiel wondered why the human realm didn't have a single worthy opponent. Just then, she noticed a light from the trees, and narrowly dodged a mithril arrow. As she spotted Gasida hiding in the trees, she began rushing towards him while dodging his arrows. She thought his power level was impressive, but as Gasida summoned back his arrows towards her, she destroyed them with her wooden sword. Even so, Gasida was determined to land a hit and prepared to launch another arrow, but Irisfiel cast a bright light that blinded his vision. Ready to eliminate him, she prepared to unleash her greatest attack, Sky Rend, but an apple destroyed her spell at that instant, and she realized that Dariel was the one who threw it. As she landed on the ground, she noticed that his aura was the strongest among all of them, but Gasida was already crying that he's still a worthless failure. With Dariel wanting to make him feel better, he began telling him that he was their strongest adventurer in the village. But Irisfeel appeared at that moment and challenged Dariel to a one-on-one fight. Unwilling to reveal his abilities, Dariel began saying that he had retired from being an adventurer. But Irisfeel knew he had the same mysterious aura as the previous hero. Wanting to test the full extent of his powers, she awakened her aura and rushed towards him, but he managed to block her attack. Before she knew it, he was stepping on her stick, and as he leaped away from her, he caught her ankle with his whip, immediately pulling her off the ground. Even so, she wouldn't quit and rushed at him once again, but he blocked her attack before leaping towards the mountain. Desperate to defeat him, Irisfeel slashed the top of the mountain, and Sasha realized that she was using all of her innate powers. However, when the hero realized that Dariel was completely unscathed, it brought a tear to her eye, as she realized that he was the man she's been looking for. But as she was ready to go all out, she prepared to cast her greatest spell once again, and Dariel realized that he had seen the previous hero using the same technique in battle. So as she unleashed Skyrend, he decided to neutralize it with a Skyrend of his own, as the mountain erupted with smoke. However, this was the final confirmation Irisfeel needed, and after it was all over, the entire heroes party began asking Dariel to become their final member.
ぜひお頼み申す。
私からも。
いや、今回は一人で。
Yo, that one there was a violation. Personally, I wouldn't have it.
That night, while he was feeding his son, Irisfeel appeared behind him and began wondering why he would not join her party. As he told her that he wanted to watch his son grow up, he showed them the portrait that Gasida drew, telling them that he wanted to get a new one of them together every year. However, Irisfeel thought he was hiding something, and said she wouldn't give up until she successfully persuaded him. Just then, he remembered Doroe, and the reason he wouldn't fight the demons, because a few years ago, he wondered why she wanted to go on a date with him. However, she told him it's not like she's always wanted to go on a date with him and feel his Excalibur or anything like that. Baka.
So you're a liar.
She revealed that she wanted to protect all the children's smiles in the demon continent, and he knew that he couldn't give up on any child's future. The next day, as he went around the village, Irisfeel and Satomi decided to trail him while hiding under wooden boxes, and they watched him as he performed his daily duties, even playing counselor and cleaning for the previous mayor. By the time the sun began to set, he decided to feed stray animals, and the girls thought he was amazing, but began watching him as he headed home with Malika. That night, Satomi thought that Dariel was living in his own perfect world, and said that his duties in the village make him as important as being the hero. However, Irisfeel wasn't satisfied with his laziness, and thought she needed to confront him one final time. So that same night, after she summoned Dariel to the mountains, she began saying that his Skyrend was the same skill only the previous hero was able to cast. But when she wondered how he managed to acquire it, Dariel revealed that he only copied it from watching his battles. However, those words only made Irisfeel angrier, and she threatened to slice his head off, wondering why he was so strong but entirely clueless about the human limits. In that instant, Dariel leaped away from her, narrowly dodging her attack, but she told him that those with extreme aura levels must stand forward and fight. As he leaped away once again, he told her that the Demon King's army were only trying to keep the hero away from the Demon King, and thought the war would end if humans ceased their attacks. He was certain that even the demons were tired of this war, and confessed that he has family on both sides that he wants to protect. So as Irisfeel heard these words, she realized that Dariel has a kind heart, and told him that all she's ever needed was a heart as strong as his own. For this reason, she decided to appoint him as her teacher, and seeing as he was the second strongest human after the previous hero, she asked him to train her. At that moment, Dariel realized that he could put the war on hold by keeping her close to his side, as he stared directly at the most important part of this war that he needed to protect. A few days later, when Rosette was playing with Grant, he thought he really looked like Dariel, since he was just as ugly as his useless father. But when he wondered where the hero was, Dariel told him that the entire party had left to shop for pajamas at a neighboring town. But as he let out those words, Zevi's massive milkers appeared at that moment, wondering why Rosette's disgusting face was here. But Dariel realized that his secret was about to be blown. As Zevi used Rosette's worthless body as a stool, she told him that this was his punishment for keeping Dariel's whereabouts a secret. At that moment, Malika arrived, and as she spotted Zevi, she thought she was Dariel's old friend, and said she would return with some grape juice. However, when Zevi began saying she was glad to see Dariel again, and wondered if his sword was still small, Malika grew angry and nearly blasted her face with the lid. But as it hit the wall, Zevi's life had already flashed before her eyes. When Dariel decided to ask why she came, Zevi revealed that she was searching for Mithril, and had decided to trail Rosette to the village, having already discovered that he delivers Mithril to the Demon Empire. However, when she commanded Dariel to hand over all the Mithril in the village, he refused, so she threatened to teach him a lesson. So as Dariel grew afraid for her, he suggested they leave the village. However, just as they arrived outside, Zevi blasted a tree and threatened to do the same to Dariel if he wouldn't accept the deal. As she ascended towards the sky, Dariel decided to reveal his weapon, but warned Rosette to stay away from the battle. So as Zevi summoned a wind sphere, Dariel launched himself towards her, but as she changed spells, he switched techniques, nearly ending her life at that instant. However, Zevi thought his attack was too fast, so she said that it didn't count and wanted to go again. For the next few hours, he kept destroying her ass.
Pause.
Even so, Zevi wouldn't quit, and prepared to blow away the entire village this time. But as she decided to summon Geostorm, Dariel blasted it with Sky Rend, consuming the storm in that instant. And as it caused Zevi to lose her magic, she began falling towards the trees. But as Dariel tried to save her, he only managed to catch a piece of her clothing, as the weight of her body pulled them both, so Rosette unleashed his water to ease their landing. At that moment, Zevi spotted Dariel holding her underwear, causing her to cry as she swore that she would tell the monster girl about it. With Dariel desperate to make up for his blunder, he vowed to sell her all the mithril she desired, but she asked for a replica of his sword. A few minutes later, they arrived at the workshop, and after Dariel told the loser in charge to make a sword similar to his own, Rosette told him that it was starting to get late. When Dariel wondered what he meant by that, he realized that the hero would be returning soon. To avoid a confrontation with Zevi, he begged Sakai to take as long as possible in making her weapon, before hurrying out of the workshop. Before long, he came across the hero's party, but as he asked Irisfeel if she found the right pajamas, she began wondering if he wishes to see her without any. But while she was still speechless, he commanded her to practice her sword swing 100,000 times, before returning to the workshop. And as he realized that Sakai was keeping Zevi busy, he decided to allow Irisfeel to enter the village. Later that night, he realized that Sakai was hiding inside a bin, so he revealed that he was unable to hold out long enough. At that moment, the door opened on Zevi's massive milkers, but when Irisfeel sat next to her, Zevi's towel fell off of her head.
いけない。
平和な村へ忍び込め。
右に持ち、左にも持ち。
God damn it! You can't make this shit up!
Thinking he was a disgusting perv, they slapped him at the same time. That night while having dinner, Malika told him they would be having a long conversation soon, and Irisfeel threatened to cut off Dariel's hand next time. But Zevi wondered who this disgusting flat board was. However, when Irisfeel wondered why he was being friendly with the demon general, Dariel decided to reveal that he was a human raised in the Demon Empire. Just then, Malika said that he confessed the same way after he proposed to her, but she told him that regardless of his past as a demon or human, it would never affect the love she had for him. Even so, Irisfeel thought Zevi still didn't belong in their village, and told her to return to the demon territory. Having had enough already, Malika banged her large pot on the table, saying that the only way they would understand each other was by fighting all out. So as both of them agreed, Zevi decided to sleep right away, but Irisfeel called her a worthless amateur, and began sprinting towards the sauna. However, Zevi sprinted after her to relax her body before the fight, and once they both got there, Dariel wondered why all the women he attracted were psychotic chicks. The following day, as Dariel and the others arrived, they discovered that Sakai had been forced to make their weapons without sleeping, and the loser was exhausted from hammering them all night. But although they felt bad for him, the girls were ready for the fight, and Zevi unleashed her light wings. So as she released a blast, Irisfeel unleashed her own. But as they managed to dodge each other, Zevi withdrew instantly, and used her wings as a shield from Irisfeel's attack. At the same time, Malika arrived with Grant, but the ladies continued matching each other's agility, until Zevi blasted her away. Even so, she returned, knocking her to the ground, and kicked her sword a few inches away from her body. However, as Zevi decided to summon a light tornado, she began to cast a spell, releasing symphonic laser towards her, but Irisfeel unleashed Sky Rend. And as the collision nearly destroyed the ground, Sadom cast a barrier to shield them from the heat of the attack. But as Dariel cast a barrier of his own, she began wondering how he managed to do so. But he told her that he was only copying her spell. At the same time, Gran noticed the greatest source of milk in this world, and as he realized that he needed some right now, he leaped towards them. But at that moment, the mountain began to crumble, so as Dariel saved his son, Irisfeel tried shielding him, but Zevi unleashed her storm barrier to destroy the cliff. When Gran came out and started laughing, both of them were relieved, and Dariel realized that his son wanted to play with them, so they stared at each other before laughing, realizing they weren't enemies after all. Seeing the way they became friends, Malika knew that this was the scene he's always longed to see, and he realized that he was finally able to believe in the world of his dreams, where demons and humans all smiled together. A few days later, as Sasha appeared at Dariel's home, he told him that the previous hero had arrived in the village, and introduced him as Alancel. Just then, Zevi appeared, asking Dariel to eat her snack already, but as she spotted Alancel, Dariel thought her life would be over once he discovers who she is. So in hopes of saving her life, he told her to run away, saying that Alancel was the dreaded hero who survived Granbaza's flaming jail of endless searing screams. But at that moment, a group of kids arrived, and as Dariel thought Alancel would annihilate them, he began playing with them instead. Before Dariel knew it, all the kids in the village wanted to spend time with him, and a long queue had formed at his door, as all the villagers appeared to greet the hero. A few hours later, Alancel asked to shake Zevi's hot hands, and she thought he was a nice old man. But Dariel told her that he would annihilate her once he discovers she's a demon, and warned her not to use any magic. However, when Dariel decided to ask Alancel why he came, the man told him that he's come to summon Irisfeel back to the city, having discovered she had been doing nothing but slacking off. He blamed himself for making her the new hero, but with his injuries finally healed, he thought he could train her to be a better warrior. Realizing it was the perfect distraction for Zevi to escape, Dariel offered to lead them to the training room. But Alancel told Dariel he felt a suspicious presence, before pointing to Gassida's ugly face outside the window. Later that day, as the training began, Irisfeel charged at Alancel, but as he dodged her attack, he continued evading her strikes while signing autographs for the villagers. And when he caught her wooden sword in between his fingers, he flipped her onto the floor, leaving her exhausted. However, he thought she had grown stronger, and wondered how she managed to get better, so she told him that Dariel's been using his sword to give her very deep lessons.
What do you mean by that?
She said he was the second strongest adventurer she knew, and as Alancel was impressed, he decided to challenge Dariel to a spar. However, as he thought the hero would easily crush him, Dariel decided to give it a pass, but Gassida began saying that he's stronger, even while the villagers thought he was weak. So to support Gassida, Dariel decided to accept the challenge, but as he noticed Alancel's red aura, he realized this was a bad idea, and thought they should eat lunch first to regain energy, so the hero agreed. While having lunch, Alancel thought Dariel's rice balls was delicious, but Zevi was spying on him at the same time. She thought he was a harmless old man, but as a scarf was nearly blown away, she activated elevation magic, and retrieved it instantly. But Alancel noticed the change in the wind. At that instant, he raised his nunchuck, and launched it far into the sky, nailing Zevi into the wall. Before she knew it, he had materialized before her eyes, saying he's discovered she is a demon. But as he tried to end her life, Dariel managed to block his attack. Wanting to fight him some other time, Alancel warned him to stay away, but Dariel told him that he couldn't allow the girl to be killed. He had always known the hero was dreadful, and remembered that Granbaza had always protected him in the past, but wondered if he could stop him on his own now. As he tried to calm him down, Alancel continued approaching him, but as Dariel slashed his blade, Alancel leaped over him to the other side, and as he blocked Dariel's whip, he unleashed a blast that knocked him away. However, Dariel managed to catch Zevi with his whip, and pulled her away at that instant. Just as he caught her in his arms, a stick began launching towards him, so he raised up a stone wall, but the stick destroyed it easily. At the same time, Irisfeel and Gassida began running towards him, but he warned them to stay away. As Alancel approached him again, he began saying that Dariel was the second adventurer to have all 4 elements of the aura, and wondered why he never met him while he was still the hero. He thought Dariel would have been the perfect replacement, and wondered if he was willing to take the position even now, saying they could easily tear down the Demon Empire together. However, when Dariel told him that he wouldn't do so, Alancel drew his knife, saying he would annihilate him along with the demon. But as he unleashed his fiery red dragon, Dariel pushed Zevi to the side, releasing his own Skyrend. But as Alancel's aura obliterated Dariel's dragon, he managed to cast a barrier just as the ground exploded. As Alancel realized that Dariel had no intentions of fighting, Irisfeel tried to stop him, but the sight of his glowing eyes crippled her body. He wondered why Dariel was protecting Zevi, so Dariel told him that he doesn't wish to see anyone killed. But Alancel could smell his lies, and told him that he couldn't end the war if he intends to do so. However, Dariel thought he could create peace and apologized for the loss of his family. He had learned the story of how they were killed, and said that he has no desire to see the wars continue, so he wouldn't lose his family too. On top of that, he thought Zevi was innocent, and said her life was important to him. However, Alancel thought he was still hiding the truth, and asked why he cares so much for the demon. Realizing he couldn't continue hiding the secret, Dariel decided to tell him that he was actually raised by demons. Meanwhile, in the Demon Empire, Granbaza had arrived in the Demon King's throne room, but wondered how he transformed into a dragon. So the Demon Lord revealed that his form was only a mirror that reflected the viewer's power in a physical form. So the dragon he saw was the physical incarnation of Granbaza's strength and personality. No wonder Bash and you watching this video have the same form, because you're both little fucking bitches.
Yo, that one there was a violation. Personally, I wouldn't have it.
Right then, Granbaza began asking him to fire his son, since he had disappeared and abandoned his position for a year, leaving Doroe to fight alone in the war against the hero. However, the Demon King thought he was just angry that Dariel got fired, and wondered why he loves Dariel more than his own son. Over 30 years ago, during the height of the war, the General of Water had told him that Dariel was their secret weapon to defeat the hero, and warned him to watch over him as a son. So when Granbaza arrived at the tree, he had cast a spell to reveal the opening, and spotted baby Dariel inside. At that moment, he carried him outside, and had given him his name, as the Demon King told him that Dariel was in a human village at the southwest of their empire. He wondered if he could successfully bring him back to their territory. When he revealed that Dariel had awakened all 4 types of aura, Granbaza realized that this aura was the secret weapon the General of Water had told him about. Back at the village, Dariel began telling Alancel that the General of Water gave him over to Granbaza, who eventually raised him as his son. Just then, Alancel realized that he eliminated the General of Water after he killed his family, remembering that his son's body was never found. So as he decided to ask how old Dariel was, Dariel revealed that he's 33 years old. And as he heard these words, Alancel embraced him, telling him that he's actually his son. Shocked by this revelation, Dariel began wondering how it was possible, so Alancel told him that his wife was killed 30 years ago by the General of Water. He had thought Dariel was also killed, but had never found his body. And because only a parent was able to pass down his aura attributes, Alancel thought there was absolutely no doubt that he's his son, since they both had maxed out auras. Just then, he sensed a mysterious presence, and launched a blast towards the trees. But Granbaza shielded it with a barrier of blazing heat, causing an explosion to erupt. As he appeared in the smoke, he landed before Dariel, and told him that he was happy to see him again. However, Alancel readied his long staff, demanding to know why Granbaza had come. But Dariel decided to stand between both of them, and revealed that Granbaza has been his father all this time. As Alancel decided to relent, Granbaza revealed that he's always known Dariel was a human, since he wasn't able to use magic even at the age of 5. But he would never allow him to be taken away. Realizing the secret had weighed down on him all these years, Dariel decided to tell him that he would always be his father, and said he made him a better man. However, Granbaza thought he's a lucky man, and said he had inspired him to become the strongest demon in the realm. As he hugged Dariel, he called him the pride of his life, and Dariel hugged him too. But as the sight made Alancel angry, he began saying that Granbaza had stolen that away from him, because instead of getting stronger for his son, it was the hate of killing all the demons that made him grow stronger. His life was useless, having lost all the years they could have spent together forming a special bond. As Granbaza knew that he deserved his rage, he told him to take his revenge out on him. At that moment, aura began emanating from their bodies, but Dariel wondered how he could stop them. Luckily, Malika flew in between them, and doused them with her water, separating the fight before it started. She told them that they were a disgrace for powerful heroes and begged them not to show their hatred in front of their grandson. Shocked by her words, she revealed that both of them were Gran's grandpas, and the men realized they were grandfathers. The two greatest heroes in history were now both just grandpas, but Malika had helped Dariel realize what he needed to do. So as he figured out a plan, he told Granbaza to stay alive for his son and asked Alancel to train Gran up as his grandson. As Alancel was happy to meet Gran for the first time, Dariel decided to thank Malika for her support and said he was glad he married her. But as his words made her excited, she hugged him tight, nearly crushing his worthless bone. Meanwhile, at the Demon Empire, Bash arrived at a grand reception to celebrate becoming the greatest of the 4 generals, but discovered that the hall was empty. Wondering if everyone had forgotten his special occasion, he decided to ask the manager if they had all been brainwashed. But the man told him that no one was coming to stare at his disgusting face. They had all turned down his invitation, and revealed that even his father had asked the Demon King to dismiss him from his position. Because of his inability to make any money, the Demon King's army was already starving, and the loss of the Mithril mine was their last hope that was extinguished. However, as he thought all of it was irrelevant, Bash began saying that he's perfected a secret strategy for defeating the hero. But the man said that the only strategy he needed was a strategy to fix his disgusting face.
What did he say?
He told him that he should have never fired Dariel and said his absence has plunged the Empire. As Bash sat down at the table, he decided to order some PG grape juice, but the chef told him that they wouldn't serve him as he had not been paying his invoices. When he wondered how they had managed to keep this place afloat, the chef told him that Dariel was the one always paying their bills, and since he was gone, the entire place had gotten wrecked. At that moment, Bash's anger began to grow as Dariel's name continued echoing in his mind, and the house exploded at that instant. So as he stepped outside, he activated his evil eye, saying he would annihilate Dariel. At the village, the scariest heroes in history were playing with Gran, but Granbaza thought that Gran had such a great name, and wondered where it came from. However, poor Gran began crying, so Alancel tried to comfort him, saying that anyone would cry in the hands of an old disgusting man like Granbaza. But the phone began going off at that moment. When Dariel heard Rosette's voice on the phone, Gran wanted to talk to him, begging him for help.
もしもし。
何者だあんた。
お前から名乗れ。私を差し置いて我が孫と随分親しげだな。思わず焼いてしまいそうだよ。帰還後ゆっくり話すとしよう。特務家のリゼート殿。
Congratulations, you played yourself.
As the food came out and Malika brought the drinks, Anvil wondered how he fit to be Dariel's father among these maniacs. But this was the first time Dariel discovered Anvil was actually his name, as he had always called him father. A few hours later, Granbaza was reminiscing about his memories raising Dariel, remembering how sad Dariel was when he first discovered he couldn't use magic, but had continued trying anyway. Alancel wished he also had these memories, but said he was glad to see Dariel grow into a powerful mayor, and thought Granbaza must have been a great father to raise him into the man he was today. So he offered him his hand, and as Granbaza accepted it, Dariel was glad to see both of his fathers become friends. But by the time they were done, Malika noticed Dariel's arm was still in pain, so she spent the night taking care of him, telling him that the kindness of his was the thing she loved the most about him. However, she had to go clean the dishes, but as soon as she left, Zebi snuck into his room, telling him that she was shocked that he was in love with her. After all, he told everyone how he wouldn't be able to live without Zebi, so because he said she was as important as his wife, she promised to think about their romance, and fled outside. The following morning, as Irisfield began asking Alancel to train her, Dariel wondered if she intends to continue fighting the war. As she told him that she would, she said it was the hero's duty to defeat the Demon King. But when he wondered who the Demon King is to them, Alancel began saying that he was the source of every misfortune in the world, and thought that ending him would bring peace to the realm. However, that was only the story the past heroes had believed, because at the same time, the Center Guild thought the Demon King possessed all wisdom and mana, and were convinced that killing him would allow them to steal all his powers. But in a third story, they thought that slaying the Demon King would allow humanity to evolve into a greater race, and would even grant them the ability to use magic. However, when Alancel decided to ask if the Demon King was truly invincible, Granbaza told them that the Demon King had truly bestowed all the demons with magic powers, revealing that he was the first and only Demon King to have existed. These words left Irisfeel in shock, and Granbaza revealed that the Demon King has always been the same, and he thought he was immortal. Just then, Phytabon and his useless squad appeared at the door, and he told Dariel that the Mithril mine was under attack from a monster. To reach the mine quicker, Dariel told Zevi to transport them with her wind magic, and within a few minutes, they were flying towards the mine. However, as they got closer, the heat from the dragon's fire nearly burned them, forcing them to land. But when the men told Dariel that the knockers were trapped inside, he ran into the mine, and Alancel followed him for support. At the same time, Irisfeel decided to draw her sword, suggesting they knock down the dragon. So as she began charging at it, Zevi propelled Sasha with her wind magic, but as he stabbed the dragon, he realized he couldn't even pierce its body. Just then, Irisfeel unleashed a blast on it, but as it nearly crushed her body, Zevi transported them out of the way. Immediately, the dragon unleashed fire on them, but as Sadom covered them with her shield, the heat from the flame melted off her armor, but Granbaza began absorbing the fires. Inside the mine, Dariel saw that the knockers have been buried under the rubble, but as they noticed the dragon was close, he realized they needed to defeat it first. So they began rushing towards it, and as they unleashed their fearsome emperor's sky rend at the same time, they managed to knock down the beast. But as it roared at Dariel, the dragon flew away at that instant. Irisfeel began saying that she sensed a deep hatred from inside the dragon, so Granbaza told them that he was returning to the Demon King's castle and commanded Zevi to transport him with her magical energy. A few minutes later, after Dariel had successfully rescued the knockers, he grew sad realizing he couldn't protect the mine. But as Alancel appeared at that moment, he told him that he can't protect everything, and suggested he relies on his friends for their help. Right then, a man told him that one of the guild workers was missing, and he thought he was trapped inside the cave. Meanwhile, at the Demon Castle, Granbaza found Bash enjoying coffee, but as he noticed his evil eye, he wondered if he had entered the Room of Secrets and punched the wall in anger. Zevi wondered what this Room of Secrets was, so Bash told her that it's a hidden chamber inside the Demon King's castle. Since ancient times, every hex ever developed had been stored inside, which were far more powerful than any magic in this world. However, because of the great risk they possessed, the demon ancestors had sealed the hexes away. But among them was a technique that Bash had used in controlling the Salamandra, the great magical beast that attacked the mine. Thinking Bash was entirely useless, Granbaza began saying that he's grown into a brain-dead moron, and wished he was half as smart as Dariel. However, as his words brought back Bash's painful memories, his anger began to grow, and he threatened to kill Dariel for this reason. At that moment, Granbaza realized he had awakened the Hex of Spirit Synchronization magic, and calling him a disgrace, he unleashed fire towards him. But Bash summoned the Salamandra. He told him that he would annihilate Dariel and would destroy the entire village before flying away on the dragon. At the same time in the mine, Dariel was searching for the missing human. But as a stone god appeared before his eyes, Dariel thought it would devour him and began running off, but the cave closed up before him. As he decided to reveal his name, the god told him that the salamander reflects the rage of the caster. There was only one way to stop it before devouring the world, so as he asked to see his mithril weapon, he released the restrictions inside of the mithril, saying he's now acquired the stone god's powers, before withdrawing into the cave walls. As Dariel answered a call from Granbaza, he told him that Bash was controlling the dragon, and said he was heading towards their village. So when Dariel arrived, he commanded the villagers to evacuate, but Malika gave him their engagement ring so she would always be by his side, telling him to bring it back. By the time Bash arrived on the dragon, Dariel and the others were already waiting outside the village, so Bash cast a giant fireball to light up the place. As Dariel tried calming him down, Bash realized that Dariel had a family now, and thought it was the perfect time to destroy everything he cared about. Realizing he couldn't calm him down, Dariel released his whip, saying he would stop him no matter what. As he wrapped his whip around the dragon, Zevi cast her wind magic to support it, pulling down the dragon immediately. Without hesitating, Dariel blasted Bash with Sky Rend, managing to separate him from the beast. But as he thought he could still calm him down, he decided to apologize for taking over the mithril mine. But as Bash revealed that he never knew he had taken over the cave, Dariel decided to ask why he hates him then. Bash told him that his only desire was to finish the war, and said that he decided to destroy the mine just so he could lure him out. He called him a traitor and said he intends to annihilate him so that he would be forgotten forever. Once he was dead, he would start his killing spree across the entire world and would end all of humanity forever. By the time all of this was done, he would become the general of the Transcendent Tempest and would be known as the strongest of all the heavenly generals. Bent on protecting his family, Dariel said he would defeat him, so as he launched fireballs, he slashed them in an instant. But as a mighty blast sent him falling off, Bash followed with more fireballs, and as he crashed through the forest, Bash caused the ground under him to erupt before blasting him into the mountain. However, as Dariel managed to survive, he thought Bash has grown stronger and began telling him that he was talented, and that he wished he could have become his eyes and remained his assistant. But his words were useless to Bash, and he prepared a fireball to end him. But as the memories of his friends and family flashed through Dariel's mind, he decided to unleash his Sky Rend, blasting the loser away. However, as he survived, he decided to reveal his most powerful form, revealing the true form of Magic Incarnation. At the same time, the others were in a battle with the Salamandra, and as Sadom cast a 5-layer guard to trap the dragon, it nearly devoured her face. So Gassida launched an arrow at the beast and nailed it with a dozen more arrows. As the Salamandra spewed fire on them, the men leaped out of its way, and a lancel began flashing towards it before blasting it with Thunderbolt. Before it could recover from this attack, Granbaza cast a flaming jail of endless searing screams, consuming it at that instant. On the other side of the forest, Dariel was wondering if Bash's new form was caused by the overwhelming power of the Hex. But as he flashed towards him, he knocked him towards the mountain, and as Dariel took off to the sky, Bash prepared a fireball to end him. But Dariel shielded with a barrier. Determined to end him anyway, Bash smacked him with his tail. But as Dariel managed to land, Bash told him that he's stolen his entire life away from him and cast a giant fireball towards the sky. But as Dariel realized it would burn the entire forest, he decided to awaken the power of his mithril knife. At the same time, Granbaza had successfully neutralized the dragon, and as they noticed the great energy rising towards the heavens, Dariel directed it at Bash, blowing up half of the forest. However, Bash managed to survive the explosion, and Dariel realized that his entire body was covered with dragon scales. While he was wondering if his attack sped up his transformation process, the menace attacked him immediately, bashing his head into the ground before flinging him into a mountain. As he returned, Dariel managed to stop him with his blade, but at that moment, he teleported into the world of his memories and watched Granbaza and Bash while they were passing in a parade. With the Hex taking rapid control over his mind, the synchronization magic was causing Bash's memories to spill, allowing Dariel to see into his past. When he was 10, his father had arrived home with Dariel, telling Bash to rely on him like an older brother. Those words had crushed him, because although he waited for his father for years, his father was spending that time raising a different son. So when he asked his mom if he could become an adventurer with his father, she told him that he needed to become #1 in the Magic Academy first, causing him to spend every single one of his nights studying. When he finally achieved his goal, however, his mother was disgusted that he was about to leave her like his father, making him realize that no matter what he did, he was never going to win, and that there wasn't a place in this family for him. Eventually, Granbaza had assigned Dariel to be his aide when he became the Demon General, but Bash harbored his anger inside, as he hated Dariel for stealing his moments away. For this reason, he had thought that killing Dariel was the only way to prove his worth to his father, but Dariel realized he has been very lonely. At that moment, Bash leaped away, and Dariel realized he could also hear his own thoughts. So he rushed towards him, trying to slash him with his sword, but as Bash caught it in his hands, Dariel told him that Granbaza has always been worried about him, and that he's also always wanted to be there for Bash. As his shield began to glow, it teleported Bash into his own memories. Because while growing up, Dariel had been sad that he wasn't part of their family, and worse of all, had discovered he couldn't even use magic. Due to this, he forced himself to be a good kid, and smiled every time so that no one would know he was sad. However, after first meeting him, he finally began to think he has his own family, and was happy for the very first time. As Dariel told him that his life was special and worth something, he said he wants to be a support for him. So as Bash heard these words, the scales began melting off, and he realized he should have never ran away from Dariel. After the scales were completely gone, Dariel offered him a hand, saying he wants to be his older brother again. After all this time, he wondered if grabbing his brother's hand was what he should have done. But when he was finally about to, the Hex began taking over his mind, as the Salamandra absorbed all the flames inside the fireball, reawakening at that instant. With the hex already broken, the dragon roared with a flaming heat, and Alancel realized that the Salamandra's true power was about to be unleashed. At the same time, Bash sensed the rage of the dragon, and flashed towards it immediately. As he landed on the beast, he merged his body with the dragon, and managed to take off with it. However, Granbaza thought his entire body would be absorbed into the Salamandra, but Bash was ready to sacrifice himself, and was glad that he's finally made peace with Dariel. But at that moment, Granbaza separated his body from the dragon, and began casting a spell to transfer the hex onto himself. But Dariel appeared, unleashing Sky Rend, and annihilating the dragon at that instant. With the beast completely erased, Zevi managed to keep them afloat with her wind magic, and Granbaza was glad to have his son back. When they returned into the village, Dariel was excited to see all of them.
いや、受け止めよう。
おかえりなさい。
ただいま。
A few days later, as Bash appeared before the Demon King, he decided to apologize for wrecking the Empire, and asked to be punished for his sins. Wondering if he was truly sorry, the Demon King decided to show him the gates of hell, telling him that all the previous failed generals had been sealed inside, but was willing to let him go freely if he was to be exiled. However, Bash thought that he didn't deserve to be forgiven, so he accepted entering the gates of hell. In that moment, the Demon King closed the gate, revealing that he was going to give him a moment of happiness before dropping him in, but decided to spare him instead, banishing him just like he did to Dariel. A few days later at the village, while celebrating another reunion, Bash had come with Granbaza to the party, so Dariel welcomed him inside. While they sat together, he apologized to all of them for everything he had done, and Granbaza apologized on his behalf. In that moment, Gran finally woke up and wanted Bash to hug him, so he introduced his son to Bash, telling him that they were brothers. In that moment, he realized what family truly meant, and wished he would one day atone for all of his crimes, since they were precious to his brother. Hearing those words, Gassida welcomed him as his second older brother, and kept crying the whole time. Just then, Malika revealed that this was the first time Gran said anyone's name. But when Bash wondered if it was alright that it was him, she told him that it was, and that it was a happy day to remember. Hearing those words, Dariel realized that she was right, and asked Gassida to make another one of the family portraits. Before long, he had created a painting of their entire family, and Dariel realized today was truly a wonderful day to remember, especially with the cameraman sacrificing his life to get these shots. If you made it this far, you're a true legend, so let's for once not confuse the fake fans. And let's spam Rip Smith in the comments. His black sword was too long. The fake fans will never expect it. Watch this next video. Till next time, my fellow legendary plot masters.